We're doing something.
Was it specific periods that you were recalling these past lives?
I think it was, but at the time I didn't know that. I've since discovered that I believe reincarnation is true, and most people who have a near-death experience come back also believing that.
Well, most people that have had a near-death experience talk about the light or meeting loved ones.
Sometimes,
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so do you believe you had a past life as a Native American?
I think I probably did, but I was also a Tibetan Buddhist monk, and those memories that I was bringing back during my early stages of meditation were memories of having meditating thousands of times. I actually had done that. And I came back, in those first few days I had memories of doing it all these times, and I knew everything about it just in a matter of minutes. It was very interesting.
And then your near-death experience was a result of an accident, an illness?
No, it was during meditation. That continued on. After about a week or so, I suddenly had this experience of being in a tunnel. My heart went zoom like this, and it was stretching and pulling, and it was 8 feet in diameter, and I could feel this incredible love like they feel on the other side, and I knew I was going really fast through some kind of space, but it was amazing. I felt very peaceful. I had no fear. I felt love beyond anything you can even begin to imagine.
And so you started the Chicago IANDS in 1998. How has IANDS changed from when you first started it till now, 10 years later?
The first time we had 5 people there. Now we have over 100 people every meeting. Last month we had 160 people. We meet at Evanston Hospital, as you know.
Yes, and you have Diane Brinkley.
Diane Brinkley will be our speaker next month. And we have wonderful people coming.
And the meetings are on Saturday?
On Saturday at 2, on the second Saturday always of the month at 2 p.m. And
you have a website if people want to get information.
www.chicagoiands.
Okay.
Oh, you can't say that?
Yeah, well, it's all right.
Bad. Well, they can find me on Google if they look for it.
Yeah, and you also sell like DVDs of previous guests. And
yeah, we have all kinds of things available. We have a bookstore at the meetings where we offer a lot of books from various authors, and we always try to give good prices to our people who come.
Excellent, excellent. And so what goes on at a Chicago IANDS meeting?
We have a brief meditation, and I play my flute to change the energy in the room. And then we do a sharing period where people have an opportunity to share their own experiences. And we take a break for refreshments, and then we come back and have a guest speaker. So the whole meeting is about 3 hours.
Good, and you have your regulars, I would assume? Regular people that belong to the organization. And
oh yeah. Every audience is different depending on who the speaker is.
Well, who usually comes to the meetings?
Well, we've had several thousand, over 3,000 people come in the 10-year periods, and the ones who come are the ones who find that speaker somehow resonant, the one who's coming for that month.
Okay, and what are some of the effects of having had a near-death experience?
Well, people, when they have this experience, and I believe this is the way we all die, you leave your body, and often the people are floating above looking down at their body, and they can, if they're in the hospital, for example, they can report what they see the doctors doing. Diane Brinkley, of course, in his story, saw one assistant in the surgery room where he was, bet another one that he wasn't going to make it, and of course he made it. But then they travel beyond that often to a place, a beautiful place. Sometimes it's a garden or a city, a crystal city. They go to the light and they often see dead relatives and or other people who were important in their lives. Sometimes even it's a pet, a dog, or other animal.
And besides seeing, aren't there conversations taking place?
Oh yes, they talk to these people, or sometimes they're guides or beings of light from the other side are with them and they talk to them. Sometimes they have a life review, which is what I think we all have when we die. You have an opportunity to go again. There's a professor of history here at the University of Illinois in Chicago who described his near-death experience as having three things happen. The first thing was that he relived his life just like he did the first time, only much faster. Mm-hmm. And the second thing was, and the first thing, he had all of his emotions intact. Everything was just as it had been as he lived his life, only it was fast. The second thing was that he was in the body of every person he ever interacted with, feeling what they felt as a result.
Talking about empathy.
Result of what he did. I mean, that's a real new take on the do unto others thing.
Yes.
I mean, literally. And the third thing was that there was a being with him on the other side, giving him the reasons things were really happening. We think we know why we do what we do, but we really don't have a clue.
Did he identify this being? Was it the Supreme Being, God?
I don't believe it was, but no, he didn't identify this being. Often people have beings, they don't know who they are, they just feel their presence, they know they're there, and sometimes the beings communicate with them, sometimes they don't. But when you're out of your body, you can feel these things in a way that you can't when you're in a body.
Now, have you had other out-of-body experiences? Because an out-of-body experience isn't necessarily the same as a near-death experience.
Well, the only difference basically is you're in the act of dying. So technically my experience was not a near-death experience, but it has all the criteria. In PMH Atwater's book, Coming Back, she talks about a list of, I don't know, maybe there's a dozen things, and if you have a certain number of these things happen to you, then you can consider yourself having had a near-death experience.
Well, Jesus talked about being reborn. Mm-hmm. Did you experience some type of rebirth after your near-death experience?
Well, certainly my life was majorly changed.
How so?
180 degrees. I mean, I looked at everything differently. When I returned, I stood in my family room and I said, "There's absolutely nothing I wouldn't do for that white light." And my whole life ever since has been centered around that principle. I understand that the currency of heaven is love, and the only thing that truly matters is how much love we give and how much love we receive. Nothing else makes any difference at all.
And when people talk about reviewing their life mm-hmm. during the near-death experiences, aren't they really feeling love at this point?
Usually they do feel love, yes. And I describe that love as, if you think of the time in your life when you were the most in love, and you multiply it by 1,000,000, trillion, gazillion times, maybe you'd come close to the love I felt. There's no words for that intense love. It's beyond anything that you can even begin to imagine. Mm-hmm. And therefore, one tends to begin to view our lives here as not being at home and being as lessons in a temporary condition. And when we die, we go home.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you experienced that love as intensely since that initial experience?
Actually, I have. I went to Egypt on 3 days' notice, and while I was there, I had a day that was filled with that kind of love, which I thought I was going crazy because I'd had so many strange things happen to me, and people just don't pick up and go to Egypt on 3 days' notice.